So ladies and gentlemen, Jackie Iketuonye is a country director at Biointegrity and Natural Foods Awareness Initiative. And she's passionate about the issues of food safety and the production of rights of farmers and consumers. She'll be speaking on COVID-19 lessons and impacts on our food and agricultural system. This lady, we've done a lot of campaigns in Nigeria, in Abuja, and she's really very passionate. They tried to buy her over. She has encountered a lot of problems, but she's still standing strong. I like working with strong women and people who stand on their 2 feet on what they believe in. I mean, we had a crisis yesterday night, and I was on call with her. She was up with me till like 1 a.m. I'm so surprised that she's able to come here. She does a lot of things. Most people call her for help. What do we eat? What do we take? I mean, she's an advocate of natural food. But she does natural food. She doesn't eat anything. She doesn't even take all this. She doesn't want you to buy minerals to drink. If you go to a house, she will mix vegetables, she will mix things and give to you to drink. So ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to have Jackie, our comrade, our ally, our partner, a strong woman that millions says we should support women like this. So my sister, we turn it over to you. Please, you have 15 minutes. Break it down for us. What are the lessons that we would learn and what should we take forward? Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. And thank you for the last speaker. I mean, he has made the work a lot easier, so I'm not going to repeat most of what he said. Okay, but one thing that is, before COVID-19, I remember we had a program and I spoke on nutrition and health. And we looked at the healthiest countries in the world. And I remember Spain and Italy was among the healthiest. That was pre-COVID-19. And of course, when COVID-19 came, we also saw what happened in Spain and what happened in some other countries that were supposedly the healthiest ones. And what did we discover? The COVID-19 virus attacked mostly people with low immune system. So these countries, even though it looked as if they were healthy pre-COVID-19, we found out that they were dependent mostly on prescription drugs. So while people are wondering, oh, how come this didn't affect Africa the way they had expected? Part of that reason was also a healthy immune system. So what are we saying? In this dialogue series, it's important that we look inwards now. Enough of dependence on imported foods, enough of dependence on industrial agriculture to feed us foods that lower our immune system, okay? Like I had just mentioned that prior to COVID-19, okay, the world agriculture had some challenges on how to feed a growing population, how to reduce poverty in the world. However, what we are seeing now is that closed borders and enforced lockdowns have unintentionally used several things, including carbon footprints and shortened supply chains. So what do we need to do? It's important that we develop sustainable approaches to food production and consumption, which is like going back to the default option, okay? Next slide, please. What are food systems? We have defined food systems. It consists of all the inputs, environment, people, processes, infrastructure, activities, and actors that relate to the production, processing, distribution, preparation, and consumption of food. So food system basically goes from the farm down to the table. Now, food systems are either conventional or alternative, according to their model of food lifespan from origin to plate. There are also, while we have sustainable food systems, there are also unsustainable food systems. Now, when we talk about sustainable food systems, we're looking at a food system, that provides healthy food to people, while also providing sustainable impacts on both environmental, economic, and social systems that surround food. Unsustainable food system. We have seen that from the challenges we've had, during this COVID experience, the food systems we have, they are very, very unsustainable. Now, before the pre-COVID era, of course, a lot of African countries had their challenges. South Africa is today to be more than 30% higher in previous years. The same thing with East and West Africa. They had, major planting seasons had largely begun before COVID-19 escalated. So because of this, it looked as if everything was okay. But in countries like Nigeria, for instance, with farmer header clashes, issues of insecurity, which also, of course, which was also exacerbated by insurgency in northern Nigeria. All these have pushed us to the brink in terms of food security. Now, we are now to the COVID-19 era proper. What is going on? We have a lot of agricultural bottlenecks in different places. Because of lockdown, you can see that a lot of farmers are not able to move food supplies the way they should. Okay, of course, there's reduced demand for food products within Africa because a lot of borders have been shut down. So all those foods we used to import that we thought we could, we thought we could not do without, most of them are not able to come in. And this will definitely force us to look inwards on what can we do to sustain our food system. Now, moving forward, we don't have much time. We're looking at post-COVID-19 impacts. Now, I'm going to look at the impact on health. A lot of us, we've looked at, because of the border shutdown, most people are not able to fly out for medical tourism. So it's time for us to look inwards. And part of the ways we need to look inwards, we must grow healthy foods. Because if people are eating healthy foods, it builds up their immune system. I'm sure a lot of us are very much aware now, the way people are rushing things like ginger, garlic, all those lemon. Nobody's interested in all, everybody is looking inwards to get them as local as possible. If you are aware, I don't know how many of you are aware, before when the lockdown was about to begin, one ginger sold for 300 naira here in Abuja. I don't know about other states. One lemon sold for 300 naira. And if not that the lockdown began to ease gradually, it could have been worse. Now, we also look at a lot of people who had to lose their jobs because companies shut down, okay? I'm trying to rush this as much as possible. Okay, let me get to action steps, things that we need to do. We are saying that there is need to be proactive in gathering pricing and availability data. Government needs to be very, very proactive now. And one of the areas we're looking at proactivity is, for instance, setting up a hub to monitor food availability and pricing, which is very, very important. We need to develop and implement guidelines and policies, track ongoing indicators to ensure continuity of the agricultural and food system while providing targeted support where necessary. Now, on the private sector, the private sectors need to reinvent. They need to focus on securing the supply chain. They need to look at protecting the health of employees and value chain partners. They have, of course, all the sanitization protocols and all that physical distancing needs to be put in place. A lot of them are already putting it in place. Okay. Now, there's need for partnerships now. All that I can do it myself is no longer going to work because there are certain areas one company may not have to be able to do alone. There is need for partnerships, especially partnerships with digital companies. Because as it is now, anybody who is not able to explore digital marketing and extension to farmers is going to have a lot of problems. But you don't need to go setting up an IT firm or an IT platform. You can partner with companies that are already running these digital platforms. Then we look at smallholder farmers. Of course, the COVID-19 pandemic substantially affected smallholder farmers and their access to markets. A lot of them were not able to move their goods to the markets. I remember some of our people in Kefi, where we have a cluster of them, we tried to see how we could provide a hub, to mitigate post-harvest losses, because storage facilities, of course, they were all lacking. So a lot of them, but we couldn't achieve much due to lack of finance. So a lot of them suffered post-harvest losses. And of course, that resulted in loss of income for most of them. Okay. Then we look at students and youths. A lot of them I have seen, they have a lot of ideas, but most of them do not have the platform to execute these ideas. So I think what we need to do, the young people, the youths, the students, most of whom are at home presently, they should be given a platform to express themselves. They should be part of the problem solving and to also help with implementation efforts. I mean, I look at the presidential task force, I mean, bringing it back home now, how many youths are in that committee? You see the same people being recycled and all that. Such committees should have young people as part of it so that we will have a more sustainable and long-term solution to the current and future pandemics. Of course, the youth of today can act as custodians of the pandemic response in order to remind future generations of the lessons learned, pitfalls, and the best way forward. Now, evolving sustainable models. I have given some examples, okay? And I think the slides will be made available. But now let's look at this. I said it's time to wake the sleeping giants, okay? Africa needs to wake up. Especially with reference to Nigeria, we have the most arable land on earth with rich tropical climates. Now, we have the potential to feed ourselves. And we have access to share even with the so-called people we're importing from. So post-COVID-19, we must work towards less dependency on imported processed foods, which not only impact negatively on our health, but also weakens our economy. Now, a mindset of autonomy and strong political will is needed to turn the enormous potential of Africa's food sovereignty into a reality. Africa does not need the approval of the Western world to build a sustainable food and agri system. This pandemic is forcing, yes, I'm rounding up. This pandemic is forcing nations to recognize the risk of depending on other nations for major food and health supplies, okay? Now, small-scale farmers produce 80% of the food we consume. Now, this is the time to explore sustainable agriculture, like the former speaker mentioned, agroecology. Now, agroecology and food sovereignty, they are not negotiable post-COVID-19 era. Now, that right to control our own food is not negotiable. Seed saving mechanisms is a necessity. Farmers must go back to the culture of saving seeds because most of the seeds they have now are genetically modified. You can't reproduce them. So, but with this lockdown, we saw that access to seeds became a challenge to a lot of them. So seeds without the ability to reproduce like GMO seeds should begin a gradual slide to the back seat. While we make health our primary concern, we must not neglect livelihoods or food security. In conclusion, there is no time nor room for complacency. Existing vulnerabilities in our agri and food systems, combined with demand and supply shocks likely to flow from COVID-19, could be heightened unless mitigating actions are taken now. I leave you with this quote. Food security exists when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. World Food Summit 1996. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless you.